All right, going live. Now we are on YouTube. All right, it's working.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for being here today with us. But wait a second, wait again. I'm sorry for this. Cindy, can you see the on the YouTube window something? There we go. All right, we're there. ¿Lo puedes ver? Yes. Okay. So thank you everyone for being here. As you all know, we will be talking about the new space economy and the EU. And before I introduce our special speaker of today, I will be talking about EUNICE first, for those of you who haven't heard about EUNICE before. So EUNICE stands for, now I need to make sure that I record the screen. Sorry for this again. Recording. All right, great. So once again, thank you everyone for being here. We'll be having today the talk about new space economy and the EU, delivered by Heidi Kuusniemi from the University of Vaasa. But before I introduce her, I will be briefly introducing EUNICE, what it is, what it stands for. So EUNICE stands for European University for Customized Education, and it is an alliance of universities, 7 universities located in 7 countries: Poland, Spain, Germany, Belgium, France, Italy, and Finland. And we are currently working on the extension of such an alliance to include 3 more members, 1 from Greece, 1 from Portugal, and 1 from Sweden. This alliance was originally established as an answer to a call from the European Commission called or related to the European Universities Initiative. And our mission is to develop an inter-university campus that connects both students, faculties, but also researchers and basically all staff members to offer alternatives and opportunities, different opportunities than the ones offered by, let's say, traditional universities. This webinar belongs to a series of sessions organized under the EUNICE Weeks framework, which started already about a month ago. And we at the University of Vaasa in Finland are hosting you today and hope we have participants from all EUNICE locations and beyond. Moving now to our main topic, our director of the Digital Economy Research Platform, Heidi Kuusniemi, will present the topic New Space Economy and the EU. And as I just said, Heidi is director of the multidisciplinary research platform called Digital Economy at the University of Vaasa, and a professor in computer science with a focus on positioning technologies and systems at the University of Vaasa. She is a part-time researcher professor in satellite navigation at the Finnish Geospatial Research Institute of the National Land Survey of Finland. Heidi obtained her doctoral degree in 2005 from the formerly named Tampere University of Technology, now Tampere University. She has vast work experience related to geospatial data, both from academic, private, and governmental sectors, as well as international experience from the University of Calgary and Stanford University. She has managed to obtain research and development funding from various national and international sources, as well as productively authored and co-authored in numerous journals, conferences, and books. Heidi has worked in research and development within positioning technologies for over 18 years now, and she's an adjunct professor in satellite navigation at Tampere University and at Aalto University in Finland. She's also active in the United Nations Women in Space Network, as well as Women in Tech Network. In 2016, she was named among the top 50 inspirational women in the Nordic technology sector. She's also a member of the board at the Nordic Institute of Navigation and a member of the working group of the European Commission related to the European GNSS evolution. And she is here with us today, and it is her birthday today. So happy birthday, first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I wanted to keep this introduction short, but you have quite an interesting background and a lot of positions of trust, a lot of experience. But I will stop talking now, and the floor is yours. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Pablo. It is my pleasure to be here in the EUNICE Weeks to talk about the new space economy, and the EU. Let me now start by sharing my screen. Okay, so my talk today will start with introduction of satellites in space, so from space to satellites, and then the data that the satellites provide, space-based data. And then we'll also talk about what that data can produce. Then we go to the EU, we look at the EU satellite programs, and then from those, all of the vast space economy opportunities related. And then I want to end my talk today talking about sustainability. So how sustainability can be advanced via space-based data, and also what sustainability in space means, and what is the role of EU in all of this. So let's start with then space. Space is the part of the universe which is outside the atmosphere of our planet. And of course, our near space, our own solar system, comprises, of course, of the sun and the objects orbiting it, such as our own Earth. So planets, moons, asteroids, meteoroids, and comets. So this is the near space, how we see it. And we orbit the sun. And similarly, then satellites, they are orbiting us. So that's of course the very evident connection there. And satellites, those are typically complex electronic structures. They consist of a wide variety of measuring devices. They have their core structure, which of course has to include power, typically by, of course, then solar panels, and then also some small propulsion motors that moves those satellites while they orbit the Earth. The satellites, they are fired into space aboard a launch vehicle, and then when they are transported to a specific orbit via this launch vehicle, then the satellite continues its journey to its final orbit, where it will orbit the Earth with its propulsion engines. No propulsion engines are needed to do the actual orbiting of the Earth. That's naturally handled by then the Earth's gravitational field. So in very short. So here you can see a very typical satellite orbit when these sets of sensors, devices, they orbit the Earth simultaneously or similarly as the Earth orbits the sun. So a satellite, or also an artificial moon, is a non-natural Earth orbiter sent by humanity into space near to our planet to perform some certain task. Here are two small examples. The Suomi 100 satellite as one example of a Finnish small satellite, and also then the Kvarkensat is another example. It's a Finnish-Swedish satellite now recently being designed in an EU project, and that will be registered to the University of Vaasa, which is part of the EUNICE network. But there are lots of different kinds of satellites. To give you a glimpse, the ones who are not that aware, so there are different sizes of satellites that orbit the Earth, from large to medium, mini, micro, nano satellites. Here are some examples of S-Cube from Estonia, so-called 1-unit cube satellite, to the Kvarkensat, which is a 2-unit, then to some micro satellites. Then a very large, also can be thought of as a satellite, is the International Space Station. Then a Galileo satellite, which is in medium Earth orbit. We will talk more about these Galileo satellites later. And then, of course, also Hubble telescope is one example. So there are various kinds of these devices that are orbiting the Earth. Or then also going further from the near space, more further away, to examine and research space. Typically, satellites' main parts are, of course, a power system, and then some way to control its attitude, an antenna to transmit and receive information, then the actual payload, so the instruments to collect information to perform the task that the satellite has been assigned to do, a camera, for example, or some particle detector or some other instrument. So those are the main parts of any satellite typically. And each satellite, they fulfill some task that they have been assigned. They, for example, monitor the state of the Earth. They monitor the climate. They may also be used to locate cars, people, animals. Then some of them are assigned for data transfer, transmission of TV programs, or then providing internet access. They can also be used to determine exact time to use for timing or time synchronization, which is very relevant, for example, to power grids or any information exchange of very critical time stamping. And then the satellites or probes that go outside the near Earth space. So they have tasks related to space, atmospheric, and Earth exploration and research related activities. And then, of course, also more in the defense sector, inquiry and intelligent type of missions. So all of these different tasks that they have been assigned to do then comprise various kinds of satellites. We have then remote sensing satellites, navigation satellites, communication satellites, weather satellites, then space probes, and various satellites for atmospheric research in particular, to name some of these types of satellites. So there's a wide variety of instruments that orbit the Earth in the form of these satellites. So what kind of data do we then obtain from these Earth orbiting satellites? We call this data space-based data, space-derived data via satellites. And 3 categories are quite typically used when we talk about space-based data: satellite positioning data, so providing position, navigation, and time, GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite Systems. We will talk more about that and the role of those in the EU context in particular. Galileo and EGNOS, they are satellite positioning infrastructures of the EU. Then we have satellite remote sensing data, so satellites which do imaging for atmosphere, the Earth, water, and so on. And in this talk today, I will focus on the Copernicus system, which is EU's own satellite remote sensing infrastructure. And then in the satellite communication side, there's a variety of mostly commercial actors, stakeholders that provide satellite communications for example, internet or TV. And of course, it's very, if we think about the space economy, the satellites, they are the instruments, the devices that collect data and then provide that to the benefit of various services and applications to the Earth. An important part is all of the technology that enables it. So how is the satellite, how is that put to space? So is then through a launch vehicle. And now we come to the rocket science. So space economy is not rocket science, but rocket science is a part, is a very vital part of enabling it. So the rockets that transports the satellites to a specific orbit, from where then the satellite continues its journey to the final orbit, to when it orbits the Earth. So just to give you now a glimpse of this rocket science, I wanted to show you this video, but let me first see that I shared with the video option. Just a second. So this is just that you get an idea. This is an illustration.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. We are looking at the. Oh, no, never mind. Now it comes.
Okay.
No, we don't see the video yet in the YouTube screen, just in the Zoom screen.
So
now I think I don't know how many displays you. Oh no, now it started. It's a bit. There's a bit lag. Never mind.
Okay, there's a lag. Okay, so I won't show this that much, but this is one of these rocket launches that illustrations how the James Webb Telescope was launched. But this is a very typical illustration of these launchers. So this gives you an idea of how these satellites are gotten to space to orbit the Earth. And this is of course a very vital part of the space economy. These the launching facilities and the services and applications related to that. Okay, maybe not a good idea to show then videos. Okay, so that was an introduction. That was the introduction. Now I can hear my own voice again.
I think it'll take a few seconds because on the Zoom there's a slide already, the number 3, but it may come. There we go. Now we see it in YouTube as well.
Okay, thank you. So that was first an introduction to our near-Earth space and the satellites and the various types of satellites and how we get the satellites to space to orbit our planet. And now we come more to the usage and utilization of this satellite-derived data and the role of EU in all of this. The EU has a new EU agency for the space program of the EU. And it contributes to sustainable growth, security, and safety of the EU with space-based data. And space-based data is considered to be at the heart of the technological revolution. And the EUSPA, the European Union Agency for the Space Program, has or coordinates EU space activities under one umbrella, and the activities are divided into 5 different categories. Copernicus, as I said, that's the name of the program for Earth observation and monitoring based on satellites and also the non-space data related data that is relevant for this infrastructure. So Copernicus is the remote sensing, the imaging infrastructure of the EU. Galileo, then again, it's Europe's own global navigation satellite system. And EGNOS is an augmentation system that makes navigation signals more accurate and reliable, and it's especially vital for the civil aviation community that relies on very precise navigation. Then the GovSatcom, that category of space activities in the EU relates to secure satellite communications for EU governmental actors. And then also the SSA, Space Situational Awareness type of activities of the EU space program that relates to monitoring and protecting space assets. So these 5 components are how the EU space activities are consisting of. And if we take a little bit a more closer look into what the EU space program consists of. So it's a very wide set of activities nowadays. If we start with the kind of infrastructure, so there's more than 30 EU-owned satellites that orbit our planet for Earth observation or then global navigation satellite system related navigation. There are a broad set of jobs supported by EU space with a large value added related to them. Then if we go to the agricultural sector, the EGNOS and the Galileo are a very vital technological infrastructures to then help the smart agriculture in the EU. And then, as I said, in civil aviation, the EGNOS infrastructure is very important for a safer, greener, and a less noisy landing in aviation. Then for all of the search and rescue services, the Galileo system is very vital in providing more timely and more accurate position determination of people in distress. And then, of course, the whole smartphone related economy with all the applications and services. There's more than 2 billion Galileo-enabled smartphones sold until today. So most of you probably have a smartphone that has Galileo navigation system enabled and utilizes the Galileo European navigation infrastructure to get a more accurate and robust positioning solution in all of the navigation related services. And also then for the Earth observation, for example, the Copernicus data contributes to flood events and related monitoring and forecasting. There's a huge amount of Earth observation data from the Copernicus remote sensing infrastructure downloaded each day. I'll come back to this later today in this presentation as well. And there's more and more companies that are leveraging the Earth observation data, especially now also SMEs, because the Copernicus data is free to use, and that's why also it's an excellent means to provide to innovate new applications and services. Also, then the governmental satellite communications program is relevant in many EU member states today. I want to focus on two EU satellite programs in particular, as I said, Galileo and Copernicus. And when we talk about Galileo, quite often kind of a sister program of sorts is the EGNOS, that is an augmentation system to GPS, but also then Galileo. And Galileo and EGNOS together, they provide positioning, and then Copernicus with its Sentinel satellites that provides remote sensing imaging data. So the Galileo satellites, they are 30, and 4 of these EGNOS satellites, they orbit the Earth at a medium Earth orbit, so around 20,000 kilometers in altitude. They broadcast signals, including 4 different Galileo navigation messages that includes all of the information that a user device needs to compute its precise location and time. And then the EGNOS satellites augment that with correction information, integrity information. So this is a very important infrastructure to do position, navigation, and timing. Then the Copernicus system consists of Sentinel satellites, a family of satellites called Sentinel. So they have different instruments that they carry. The Sentinel-1, that's a radar mission, all-weather, day and night radar imaging is what its mission is all about. Then there is optical mission, optical missions, atmospheric chemistry missions, and then also an altimetry mission to observe changes in sea surface height with an accuracy of a few centimeters. So this Copernicus system, that an infrastructure, is all about imaging with different, a little bit different technologies. If we start first with the Galileo and EGNOS infrastructures, there are existing satellite navigation infrastructures already globally. Of course, you know, the US GPS, then there's the Russian GLONASS, but now Galileo is our own, the EU's own satellite navigation system. And these augmentation systems are also regionally, globally existing. WAAS, for example, in the US, but EGNOS is our own here in the EU to serve the European member states. And there's a wide variety of GNSS applications, location and time. And I had thought about presenting another video for you. I think I will be optimistic and try to share that again as well. Let's see.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, let's see if it works. here there should be a sound as well. So this is from the EU Commission's GNSS agency that in very short and illustrates in short the many uses of satellite navigation today and also in the future. So for example, in various land surveying, agriculture, accurate position determination is crucial in all infrastructure, building services, and of course search and rescue, for safer landings, even in bad weather. And also, of course, in increasing safety, whether it's in land transport or air transport. And also precise navigation in maritime transport. And also in location-based services for handheld devices. Location-based gaming, advertising. Also in the finance sector, precise timing, and for insurances, location and time is important. But in agriculture, precision agriculture, it's more and more important to know and optimize the operations based on location and time. And time synchronization, precise time stamping in power grids as well. Yes, that was it. Let me stop sharing and share again without the video clip optimization. Yeah, so that was in short what Galileo and EGNOS can provide, and the three highlighted services that the Galileo is now providing, which are very unique. For example, when compared to the US GPS, Galileo has an open service that can contribute to better availability, reliability, and accuracy than before, especially in harsh environments. Then also Galileo's high accuracy service, it's a free global high accuracy service without dependency on the internet or any additional communication channels. So this is also very unique to Galileo, better than the services provided compared to other global infrastructures. And then there is an authentication service that increases robustness to spoofing. So the commercial authentication service, and also in the open service, a navigation message authentication. So these are very unique and improved services that the Galileo provides. Then when going from positioning and Galileo and EGNOS to Copernicus and imaging. So the Copernicus, EU's own remote sensing infrastructure, that's Europe's eyes on the Earth. So the Copernicus system with its Sentinel satellites, it looks at our planet and the planet's environment for the benefit of Europe's citizens. So it has services and contributions to monitoring the atmosphere, the marine environment, land and land changes, climate change, security, and also then emergency situations, especially, for example, landslides or volcanic activity and earthquakes and these kinds of events. And this is a presentation an illustrative presentation from the European Space Agency on what the Copernicus observes: soil moisture, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, sea surface temperature, sea level height, and chlorophyll in very short. And how the Sentinel satellites, how they, hopefully you can see this video, so how an remote sensing or imaging satellite, how they are looking at the Earth can be seen in this short video. So here's an example for a Sentinel-2 constellation satellite, how it orbits the Earth, and then in 5 days it has taken images from everywhere in the Earth, and then it can start its round again, and it monitors what's happening on our planet. And the Copernicus data that these Sentinel satellites, what they are imaging, this system, this European infrastructure provides this data free and openly for all users around the world. And this is a #1 world provider of space-based data and information, very valuable open data with a wide variety of applications and opportunities. And if we now go to the opportunities, the commercial opportunities of these EU space programs, the Galileo and EGNOS, and then the Copernicus. And where the EU also, and globally where we are in our society nowadays, we are in the beginning of the space 4.0, the new space era, where a paradigm shift has been taken place from more governmental, global, large missions to more and more commercially driven missions, where private companies have emerged, participation with academia, industry, citizens as well, more inclusive global interaction in the commercial space. This is where we are now, and kind of going from old space to new space, where we have new types of actors, commercial actors going to space with their technology and then providing new types of services and applications. One example being the Finnish radar satellite company ICEYE, which is a spin-off from Aalto University in Finland, doing excellently, very interesting business with their radar imaging satellites and the related services. And the new space means smaller satellites, more satellites in the commercial kind of domain as well. And you all know these very dominant so-called new space actors of small satellites. And the enabling factor of this new space have been more affordable technology, more affordable rocket launches, and also standardization here, Starlink satellites as one example. And the standardization of the size of satellites into cube satellites, and also reusable rockets, when the price, of course, is a very significant parameter in the growth of this space, more commercial space sector called new space. The EU space strategy focuses on the space activities that tackles the most pressing challenges of today, fighting climate change, helping to accelerate technological innovation, and then providing socio-economic benefits to citizens. Also, the space-based data helps the public and private sectors in climate-sensitive decisions. From the economic perspective, the EU space economy has been emphasized due to the projected very large growth, an estimated 320 billion euro in 2019 to 580 billion euro by 2030. And some of these innovative fields in this EU space economy include various aspects of digitalization of our society, smart automation, asset management, intelligent and resilient supply chain monitoring. And these are all powered by space-based data, position, location, time, and then also satellite-based images. And if we look at the global new space economy, here I'm showing some research from Morgan Stanley Research, showing the projection towards 2040 already with a very large foreseen growth. And you can see here that the satellite-based internet, that's the #1 growing economic field. But there's a lot of other also in ground equipment, governmental related services. So it's projected that the internet provision is growing, but so is also Earth observation and then the navigation data related services. And you can read more about all of these from the EUSPA market report, and there's a great market report out from this year that goes through all of the industry fields and explains the role of these EU space programs and the economic forecasts or market forecasts for these sectors. For example, agriculture, forestry, rail, and so on. So I warmly recommend to take a look at this market report for much more details. And this space sector, the space economy, it's foreseen to grow a lot in the coming decades. It has been growing, but it's foreseen to grow, continue to grow. And the EU is also then investing a lot of funding opportunities to accelerate this growth. There is, you can find much more information under the EUSPA website, but Horizon Europe especially is igniting innovative space downstream applications, so new types of services and applications from space-based data, GNSS, Galileo and EGNOS, or then Copernicus, so remote sensing and imaging data. And then the fundamental elements supports the development of European GNSS, so eGNSS-enabled chipsets, receivers, antennas, so more the technology. And then the Cassini EU space program supports startups especially, so supports innovative entrepreneurs, startups, and SMEs in the space industry. The last topic that I wanted to address in this talk, when we talk about new space, much more satellites, small satellites than before, commercial actors, the large growth forecasts economically in these industry areas and the applications that can utilize this data. I think it's very important that we don't forget the sustainability. Well, of course, the United Nations has made a report how space-based data overall, it actually does support the Agenda 2030 for sustainable development. And there's significant contribution from space-based data, satellite data, for example, for climate action, clean water and sanitation, good health and well-being, life on land, and so on. So when using location data, accurate and robust location data, and then Earth observation imaging, the sustainable development goals are easier to obtain. So this space-based data has significant contribution for sustainable development in many ways. But simultaneously, it's important to remember that when we are now growing the sensors, instruments, our satellite infrastructures, sustainable space is very important to be sure that we have a clean space operational environment for also future generations. So littering space must be avoided, and this is of course a global task, and the EU has a very important role in this. Also, Finland has been a forerunner in sustainable use of space, and Finland has a Center of Excellence in research of sustainable space, where Finland is emphasizing also in the Finnish space strategy that research towards orbit safety is important, as well as sustainable environment for science, technology, and businesses to maintain space. But that was all that I wanted to share with you now in the context of this satellites, the new space economy, and the EU. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heidi, for such an interesting presentation. I must say that although I was once part of your team at the University of Vaasa, most of these topics are still new to me and very, very interesting. Let's wait. Well, if some of the people in the audience have any questions you would like to address Heidi, please grab this opportunity and feel free to open up your mic and ask any questions you have. We still have some time, so please feel free if there's someone out there with a question. If not, I have a question. So since we are hosting this session under the EUNICE Weeks framework, which belongs, of course, to the EUNICE Alliance, how do you think this whole this technology, this space technology and space, like all these tools that you described, would or could benefit either the EUNICE as an alliance or as independent partners? Do you see any, let's say, benefits or positive impacts that it could have?
Well, one thing that has been clearly identified in the EU, for example, also globally, is that we need education in order to support this growth in the space sector, and utilizing and in the kind of vertical markets that utilize satellite data. So this education is a key component for success also here in the space sector. So working together, for example, now as in the EUNICE network, we can together form education modules and share them, and then share the knowledge between the universities involved. So I think this educational component and educating together across Europe is very important, and I hope that we will have initiatives within EUNICE also in the space domain. And then also another thing from education then to research and innovation, research funding, for example, European-wide, is also important, and research and development project is important to work together on. And the European countries have, when talking about space strategy and space data utilization, they have a little bit different emphasis and expertise areas also nationally. So then bringing countries, stakeholders in different EU countries together, and getting much more done together in that way. So these joint RDI projects and funding applications together, I think that's also something that within the UNICE network we could do.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And some conversations are still to take place about this, and hopefully we can include these topics into the UNICE offer. Of course, we will keep you posted in that regard. And something really important, and something that I've noticed here in Vaasa with this whole Kvarken space eco and all these space economy topics, how you the project, your team and the other teams at the various universities here in Vaasa have approached this with the younger generations. Like, of course, you won't really explain rocket science or satellite science to kids, but these workshops you have so that the children create their own, like, satellites with boxes, and like they decorate them, they paint them. I think it's a really good initiative, so that from an early age the seed is planted, you know, this like interest into the space. So that's something that has gained a lot of interest here in the region. So
yes,
yeah.
Yes, indeed. And of course there's a huge talent shortage in the EU in STEM and technology areas, and we need future talents within STEM and engineering, and space is a very interesting topic, so it also can work as a kind of spark generator for kids to get into STEM and engineering fields. So that's also one aspect that should be used more, maybe.
Yes, indeed. Well, one last chance for the audience. I can't see now how many people are there online, but if there's no more, well, feel free to also ask something in the chat if you want, either here in the YouTube chat. But then if we're almost running out of time, we still have a few more minutes, but maybe we can wrap it up. And I thank you again on behalf of the whole UNICE Alliance and our internal UNICE team at the University of Vaasa. We thank you for your time that you took, even though it's your birthday, you took this 60 minutes of your day to be with us. So that's very much appreciated. And yeah, some last words you want to say to the audience, some like, so that people get interested in the topic and get to read more and you know, get to know more about this.
Yeah, so search for EUSPA for more information on the EU space programs. And yes, it would be great to collaborate with the UNICE partners on some of the topics within this quite vast field. So yeah, let's be in touch, hopefully.
Okay. Well, I thank you once again, and thank you everyone who followed this interesting webinar or conference, however we want to call it. So yeah, thank you very much. Let's keep in touch and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.